FIFA. FIFA no palastole FIFA. FIFA no palastole FIFA. Tata UTM tata. Tata UTM tata. Sibuya 14 hasubalega makwala alega. Sibuya 14 hasubalega makwala subalega. Kwala sobale, ama kwala sobalega, ama kwala sobale, ama kwala sobalega. Sa sibuya 40, ama kwala sobalega. Sa sibuya 40. Amakwala sobalega sisoba tobola tobola to tobola to soba tobola soba tobola soba tobola soba tobola soba tobola Tobola. I teleport potato. I teleport iba potato. I teleport iba potato. Salala. Salala. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Pudlukan. Molweni. Molweni. Absel. Dumelang. Sanbonani. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Can I ask abantu be logistic bazama usivulela pha now that weather ileme kuyo? Sizawuqala ngoku. But phambi koba siqale okwam kuncinci ngoku ukuba ndinamkele. My name is Patrick Similo Sithole. I'm the current Provincial Secretary of the URM in the Eastern Cape. I'll be your Program Director today. Ndima apa ukunamkela kwi-launch ye-UDM Manifesto kwi-Local Government Election 2021 government. We have devoted 2021 with a theme, putting the people first, as our theme for the manifesto. I stand here to welcome the President of the United Democratic Movement, the Honorable H.B. Olomisa, for allowing and giving yourself time to be here and present this manifesto on behalf of the United Democratic Movement. We also welcome the Deputy President, Uputi Ngabayom Zikwangwa, and our Chief Whip in the National Assembly. Thanks, Chawe, for coming. Chawe Batipagama Bakbon. Besicela on that note besicela uBudi Yongama Zigebe uyacela lapha ngaphambili kunento ofuna sincedise kuyo. ubhuti yongamazigebe uyacelwa abangaphambili azoncedisa kwenye into. Uzwe lonke i-members ze-NEC ezingaba zinathi apha endlini. Kwakwelo khwelo ndisamkela isikhokhelo se-UDM kumabakala onke ukusuka koochairperson noosekretary bamasebe uyotsho kwisikhokhelo seprovince. Ndithatha kwa eli thuba ndisamkela bonke abantu abathe bazidina bazigqatsa ukuba xa i-UDM siya kumasipala baphakamisa izandla zoba bawuthi basincede. Le nto kuthiwa ke ngesilungu phecelezi zi-candidates. I also welcome i-guests ezingaba zilapha. I also welcome i-members of i-traditional council. Abantwana begazi indlu zako abantwana bendlu yakomkhulu. I am honored and privileged to be standing here today in front of you, in particular this year, which is 2021. Why I say I'm so honored and privileged, as I said in Obendikala, that this is the 5th time that we'll be contesting a local government election. This is the time when we have agreed that we're gonna change the game. The aim and the purpose, it's not only to govern the municipality. We want to use this municipality as a symbol, as a stepping stone for the total accumulation of the state power. That is our aim. That is our purpose. That's what we are here for. On that note, our program should have started at 11 o'clock, but due to the weather and some logistics, we had to change it and cut some items. We were supposed to be starting at 11 o'clock with welcoming, which has already been done. We will move from there to the National Anthem, where we will be led by our Deputy President, the Honorable Ngabayom Zikwangwa. At 12 o'clock, we should be getting the UDM Manifesto, Local Government Election 2021, delivered by the Honorable President of the UDM, HP Holomisa. Now, we are not beyond time. You should give me a latitude to sing a song that will stimulate our purpose. Vuya ke moya wami, vuya moya wami, kubiye socialism. Vuya ke moya wami, vuya ke moya wami, kubiye socialism. Vuya ke moya wami, vuya ke moya wami, kubiye socialism. Vuya ke moya wami, vuya moya wami, kubiye socialism. Vuya ke moya wami, vuya moya wami, kubiye socialism.
Setevuma, setevuma, hayavumi oyawa, Setefuma. Setefuma. Ayavumi moya wa. Lento siyenzayo hasina. Lento siyenzayo. Lento siyenzayo. Galento siyenzayo. Galento siyenzayo. Galento siyenzayo. Setefuma. Setefuma. Awuvumi moya wa. Fuma. Setefuma. Awuvumi moya wa. Kalento esiyenzayo. Lento esiyenzayo. Lento esiyenzayo. Ai viva UTM viva. Ai viva UTM viva. Tata Gqeberha tata. Tata Gqeberha tata. Ati vivi zamfofofo sitamba. Ati vivi hila fafafo. Hani vivi hila fafafo. Sitamba geyesa. 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 Sitamba geyesa. 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 Hati vivi hilili fafafo. Hati vivi hilili fafafo. Sitamba geyesa. 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 Sitamba geyesa. 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 Hati vivi hilili fafafo. Hati vivi hilili fafafo. Sitamba geyesa. 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 Sitamba geyesa. 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 Hati vivi hilili fafafo. Hati vivi fafafo. Sitamba geyesa. 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 Sitamba geyesa. 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 Hati vivi hilili fafafo. Hati vivi hisa fafafo. Sitamba geyesa. 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 Tamba geyesa. Geyesa. Ipi Gqeberha. Ipi Gqeberha. Khalithela isixoxa amatyala Gqeberha.
Skoxa matyala. Tyala skoxa izinto. Kanimeni. Kanimeni. Skoxa matyala. Tyala skoxa izinto. Skoxa matyala. Tyala skoxa izinto. Kanimeni.
Khanime.
iya kanimeni iya
Viva UTM, viva.
viva
Viva UTM, viva.
viva
Viva General Bantu bonke Holomisa, viva.
viva
Viva General Bantu bonke Holomisa, viva.
Siyabulela ngengoma. Siyabulela ngengoma. Xa sisiya kwi-program yethu now, the time is 20 to 12. I'm now going to invite the Deputy President of the United Democratic Movement, Honorable Mr. Ngabayomzi Kwangwa, to lead us with the National Anthem.
Bambe. Opa UTM bopa.
Makabane basi otata mabathula umnqwazi abangema namadolo bame ngenyawo sizocula iNational Anthem. Thank you. Kosisikele Afrika malupakanye supondolwayo yizwa imithandazo yethu Nkosi sikelela thina lusapho lwayo Murena buluka sichabasa Yesu Ufedi sedintwali matwenye Sibuluke sichabasa Yesu Sichabasa South Africa South Africa Itiplo fanon se yemel Itidip defanon se Waron se bechefefes Vardigran se anvorfi Sounds the call to come together And united we shall stand Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa. Amandla. Amandla. Viva UGM, viva. Viva Bantu bonke Holomisa, viva. Viva Thandi Nontenjwa, viva. Viva Bongani Msomi, viva. Viva Mkokelwa, viva. Viva Comrade Sithole, viva. Ndingumntu omtshani ngeke tuni phele nindiphakamse ngecawa kuphela kanti noyika ntoni na ningamagwala hoyingwe sadubulisa bam
Ningamagwala jubulisa sacho kamnandi sacho ndanca
Ningamagwala oyingwe sathubulisa. Mayikhawuleza yaqotha. Hayi. Hayi. Oyingwe sathubulisa. Oyingwe sathubulisa. Hayi. Hayi. Diablo pok. Oyingwe sathubulisa. Holo misa. Oyingwe sathubulisa pam. Oyingwe sathubulisa pam. Mandla.
Oyingwe sathubulisa pam. Oyingwe sathubulisa pam. Oyingwe sathubulisa pam.
Mandla.
Oyingwe sathubulisa pam.
Yacim. Oyingwe sathubulisa pam. Yabulela kakhulu. Makabane mandiqale ndi-acknowledge
One, two.
Oh, ndiyabulela. Thank you very much. Did mandiqale acknowledge President we UDM General Bantu Holomisa andizawuthetha kule. Ndibulise isikhokelo sephondo esilapha. Ndibulise uprogram director wethu Comrade Stole. Ndibulise zonke inkokheli zezigqeba ngokwahlukeneyo namasebe e-UDM nomuntu wonke olapha ngaphakathi na ndibulise ne-members of the media. Mine, I think, is a very simple task. I'm supposed to speak here about the non-existent state of the South African economy. I don't even think that there is an economy to speak of in the first place. Why am I saying that? It is because the South African economy as it is a pact and an agreement phakathi kwabantu abangosambunzunzu who went to a separate corner and came up with a policy that they think should be used to run the country. And the first issue for us all the time is to say that whatever policies they've adopted, zininzi, ziliwaka, have no legitimacy for as long as these policies azikhange zibe ne-input from various stakeholders nabantu ngokuhlala in South Africa. So from where we're sitting, South Africa is on autopilot. Kumane nje kuba kwi-ministers that wake up and come up with things about the South African economy. I want to frame it ngokuthetha firstly about the state of the local government, in particular municipalities. Recently, former Minister of Finance, Utito Mboweni, said something very telling about the state of local government. He said, out of the 278, 163 are in financial distress, the municipalities. 40 of them can't even deliver services, basic services to the people. 102 of them adopted budgets that they can't even afford. Now, it speaks to the heart and challenges of leadership as Ikoyo kubantu abadeployed by the governing party to run omasipala bethu in South Africa. But also consider one issue. Umay Broadband did a report, a study where they were looking at intoba kule wasteful and irregular expenditure kayo komasipala at local government level. Kuba we are going to elections, the local government. How much of it has gone to irregular and wasteful expenditure? Guess Imalin, 186 billion South African rands is the amount of money that over the last 10 years we have wasted. Add to that the 500 billion South African rands which has been lost to state capture. Add to that the fact that in the year 2019-2020 alone, municipalities, those were able to report. Remember, kukwi municipalities incwadi zabo that are in a state that they can't even report ukuthi bayenze ntoni imali iyabiwa kuphela. U-Auditor General uMaluleke speaks of 1 billion South African rands that has been spent on consultants. And these consultants are supposed to help uMasipala to prepare e-books for the auditors. But you have chief financial officers. You have people who are paid high salaries for being financial managers of municipalities. The problem with the South African situation is that firstly, at local government election level rather, imali that is allocated for izidingo zomasipala, kuba omasipala abaninzi bethu ezilalini abanayo ability to raise revenue, unlike metros nabasedolophini. What then happens is uyafumanisa ukuthi ayiyona 10% imali lesi allocate by parliament that goes to municipalities. Now, if uzaya komasipala bethu balapha ezilokishini abezilalini gxeba abahluphekile abafana Raymond Hlaba nezinye apha abantu bengakwazi nokubhatala inkonzo uthi mabayithathe phi imali yokwenza inkonzo first and foremost nokuzisa inkonzo ebantwini. Itsawugqiba emveni koko ithi incinci imali ityiwe ingene kwi-salaries nezinye problems. Now, that's the issue and the problem ke esinayo in South Africa. But I want to talk briefly about the social unrest, the riots which took place recently in KZN and parts of Gauteng province. You know, when riots affect white people's businesses, then there's miraculously money ebesingayazi bikhona ekhoyo 32 billion rands iyafakwa ngokuthiwa masincede ezi businesses zizibhele out. I want to give you an example. In 2008, there was a flare-up of xenophobic violence in South Africa. Businesses were destroyed indiscriminately in the townships. Did SASRA came to the rescue of black people? No. In 2015, the same thing happened. Did SASRA come to the rescue of the people? Or government say we are going to bail you out? No. Why? Because this is not a government that cares ngabantu bakuthi. It's a government that takes care of abantu abanezinto nabangcono. I want to give you another example. Kuthiwa makunikwe uSASRA imali ukuze azokwazi ubail out companies. But kunikwe companies zabantu abamhlophe that don't even employ our people. As companies that on a daily basis what they do is to exploit our people, which is foreign nationals. They don't employ foreign nationals because they like them. They employ foreign nationals because into abayifunayo is to maximize profits at the expense of the poor, which is exploitation. Now, we are saying, City UDM, you are bailing out Ababantu to the tune of 32 billion rands. I know part of it went to social grants, but you have no conditions. You are not saying this is what we expect from you. We are not saying employ locals, support up-and-coming small businesses. It says location. We don't say that because bamhlophe it's free for all. The other question opinto ibuze is intoba if unikeza abantu le mali uthi abantu bakuthi bafana covered ngoSASRA. uSASRA, by the way, many people do not know that insurance ukuthi yayisetwa ngabelungu after the 1976 riots, Soweto uprising. So it was set up by white people to protect themselves against black violence. And now you expect abantu abamnyama abangazange bafundiswe ngoSASRA, right? Ukuthi bakwazi uba covered kuSASRA. uthatha imali eninzi uyoyifaka phana uyikhuphe ungazoyifaka kubantu bakuthi ubanike 3.9 billion nezinye imali, but as businesses zingekho covered azifumani into. And all of these business operate at a local government level. One of the issues which concerned us a great deal, for instance, as I now transition to corruption, is that when ingabantu abamnyama abathathayo and the poor beuthatha izinto kuthiwa balutile ivenkile, we can't condone looting. Court case akwenziwa ne-cases ku-investigate kujonga uba ngubani, bekuvele kungenwe nje kuthiwe kutheni amaqanda amabini angekavulwa, kuthiwe sawuthatha eli uzawushiyeka neliyi-1, kuthiwe iphi receipt yegrocery yakho ya-last month. Uba unayo i-receipt kuzawuthatha ukutya kuhambe kuyotshiswa nishiywe nabantwana nilambile. Ngurhulumente ongakhathaliyo lowo. Ayingekho futhi bengurhulumente we-United Democratic Movement. But consider a situation where a politician nomuntu ophezulu highly connected uba imali babili corruption ANC kwi-state capture, batyile baqhuba i-Range Rover, bahlala emasentini, bahlala kwiindawo ezifensi, bashiya abantu kwiindawo ezihluphekileyo. Akukhange kucuthwe nespeliti sabo. In fact, kwa umongameli lona ndimve emncoma utshomi wakhe kule nto yethenda le digital vibes esithi usebenzile. Usebenze ntoni ebeyimali? Now, i-corruption apha kuya ngokuthi yenziwa ngubani, uba yenziwa ngootshomi ubozibani bayajongwa. The other thing which you must consider, why all the time when companies zisiba? Because corruption yenzeka both in the private and public sectors. And usually what happens in the public sector, it is aided by someone in the private sector. But whenever it's in the public sector, 9 times out of 10, if the ANC governing party ukwi-factional right akazubanjwa, ubukwi-factional wrong uzawubanjwa. Kodwa ubukwi-private sector kuzaw-explore what you call alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Ube imali ungabanjwa kusuke kuthiwe uzawubhatala ifine. Ungumlungu ke once wenze loo nto eSouth Africa. Ubumnyama uzawubanjwa. Ubukwi-factional wrong okanye awukho kwi-ruling party, ubukwi-factional right uzawunconywa ngumongameli athi usebenzile, adelay ne-release report because ekhusela iitshomi zakhe. Those are the kind of problems we have, and the president as a teta apha uzawungena agxile kwi-corruption, outline in a program ye-UDM, but thina okwethu is to say what are the fundamentals, the basics that we need to do right. I-campaign slogan said, if my memory serves me right, ka-2016 local government elections, yayingathi back to basics. We had a campaign slogan, yayisithi back to basics. What's going to ensure that siyabaphumelela masipala is if we go back to basics, we interact with the communities, sibaxelele without fear or favor what is wrong with South Africa. Ayizusinceda into nice sounding speeches and platitudes and political rhetoric when zonke idolophu zethu zichabalala. Umtata lo sikuwo uphelile uchabalele, iqonce, imonti, zonke nje indawo zalapha ingathi kukwangcono ipigsty kwindawo esihlala kuzo kodwa masipala bakhona. I want to make one example. Ndizohlala phansi. uKatie Matanzima ndiqinisekile lo nto ndidla ngombona ndisemncinci eTV nenkcenkceshela apha imithi yakhe main road is probably turning apha khoyo xa ebona le meko inje. Ugeneral obabephethe umthatha wonke umuntu ezofunda apha ukuze kufunyanwe imfundo engcono, ndiqinisekile inhliziyo zabo zibhlungu bakhulu labantu eMzantsi Afrika ukuze sihlale ebuhagwini thina abantu bamnyama sawugqiba sibaleke siye kwindawo zabelungu. Bonke bazishila ilokishi, bazishila ilali, abahlela ngapha, bahleli kwindawo zabelungu kuba bakwazi urane zabo lamasela. Mandla.
Thank you, Sekela Mongameli. Mongameli we-UDM kwaku nge-26 kaJulayi ngo-1996 apho umbutho omkhulu olawulayo eSouth Africa wawune-choice yokukhetha phakathi kukaHolomisa ne-corruption. Basithatha isigqibo kwi-meeting eyayicherishwa nguJacob Zuma engu-chairperson we-NEC ye-ANC ukuthi hayi Mgebe asikhethi corruption kunawe. Can I welcome the President of the United Democratic Movement, Honorable H.B. Olomisa? Ngengoma.
Samfimfimfi, samfomfomfo, sihlamba ngeyezi. Samfomfomfo, samfimfimfi, sihlamba ngeyezi. Samfimfimfi, samfomfomfo, sihlamba ngeyezi. Hlamba ngeyeza, hlamba ngeyeza. Nganawe, nganawe, nganawe. Yazigi nganawe, nganawe, nganawe. Yazigi nganawe, nganawe, nganawe. Khulule futhi sigodike. Yazigi nganawe, nganawe, nganawe. Yazigi nganawe, nganawe. Yazigi nganawe, nganawe, nganawe. Khulule futhi sigodike. Amandla Bantu hayihlale phansi ibaphe umthetho hayihlale phansi ibaphe umthetho hlala lapho
ngathi anifuna ulawulela
kubo
Amandla Mayubuye uMzantsi Afrika wethu emaseleni mawubuye Mawubuye uMzantsi Afrika wethu emaseleni mawubuye UDM Deputy President yathula ke ngoku UDM Deputy President, Mr. Ngabayomzi Kwankwa, Honorable Member of Parliament, Provincial UDM leadership, our host province, the chairperson of the UDM in the province, Tatum Khokelwa, UDM leaders of the OR Tambo region, Councillor Lukolo Namente, tipete la chepe pa. Deputy Executive Mayor of the Nelson Mandela, no pete ngoku kubake sa khakha umuntu ebengaphambili pha. Speedy recovery kuwe mayor. UDM councillors zonke members and supporters of the UDM, ladies and gentlemen, Tatustole Ospetele Nkubo, those here present and those watching at home, welcome to the United Democratic Movement ceremonial launch of our election campaign and our manifesto for 2021 municipal elections. Even though we are thankful for the rain to those who are present, thank you for braving the weather to be here. The Independent Electoral Commission's timetable dislodged most political parties. But here we are, launching our manifesto under these difficult circumstances. A thank you goes out to all the people that contributed to the success of today's event. There are too many to mention by name, but you did a massive job under very difficult circumstances. Thank you for your hard work. I quickly want to mention that there are some discrepancies with the UDM candidates list and names that appear in wrong slots on some of the IEC's published lists. The EFF Secretary General, Utadu Dlamini, confirmed the same to me last night, as well as President of the ATM this morning. I have heard that the AIC and PAC have also concurred. The UDM has already submitted our complaint of these lists with the IEC, and we qualify them as technical glitches on their part. Okokwangoku asikafuna ukulwa kakhulu. Funeka sisithi lesizifakile nazi nathi proof ubani lo use ubani kula ward. Ubani osuse ubani pha. Insofar as the plea from our ward candidates to be assisted with posters, we have some good news. The UDM will be footing the bill for those posters. You are requested to WhatsApp your high-resolution head and shoulder photographs to our National Treasurer, Mrs. Tandi Nontenja, via your local regional leadership. Iqalise kwanamhlanje ukuphuma kwenu xesha sinalo. Make sijonge ke ngoku iUDM le uba isukaphi yenzeni. Bakhona oswana sibomvana abadla ngobuzi ba nenze ntoni nele UDM. Enbomi obituary yabo yethu yayibhalwe kwango 1999. Ngokokwaba befana basekho emhlabeni. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saying happy birthday UDM, as we recently celebrated our 24th birthday on the 27th of September. Yet another achievement is that this will be the 5th municipal elections in which the UDM will participate since our inception in 1997. The UDM and its leaders have always operated from a non-partisan position with a view to achieve social cohesion and transforming South Africa into a winning nation. The UDM was instrumental in agitating for the abolishing of immoral floor crossing legislation, which is no longer on our statute books. It was a founder member of the Tutuka, rather I was a founder member of the Tutuka project in collaboration with the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants and others. This project developed study guides in English, maths, and accounting, and produced more black chartered accountants as we speak today. When the Mandela family requested my assistance in the preparation for Mandela's final farewell, I accepted without hesitation. During the conference of the parties, that is COP17, we assisted the planting of 35,000 indigenous trees in the Zulu kingdom whilst under the reign of His Majesty, the late King Goodwill Zwelithini, as part of the fight against climate change. When our soldiers threatened to rebel due to bad service conditions in the South African National Defence Force, we stepped up to the plate when former President Jacob Zuma and then Defence Minister Lindwezi Sisulu asked for assistance and successfully quelled the threatening uprising. I served on the National Defence Force Service Commission when mandated to do so by the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans. When COVID-19 last year, coming closer to you, hit our shores, I raised around 750,000 rand in donation to purchase PPE and for around 32 health centers and hospitals in the Eastern Cape. We recently joined forces with the South African Federation of Trade Unions, that is served to lead as Zwelinzima Vavi, to negotiate with fruitful results in the dispute between Cape Town taxi associations. During the KwaZulu-Natal mayhem, I assisted a group of businesswomen to fundraise for food parcels for adversely affected families in Kwanongoma, with the delivery made to His Excellency Mrs. Zulu, rather His Majesty Mrs. Zulu Waka Zwelithini. The UDM Deputy President, Ngabayomzi Kwankwa, Kwankwa's African Parliamentarians Association for Human Rights, have been doing sterling work in Africa. He was recently appointed as the Africa representative to the steering committee of the International Panel of Parliamentarians for Freedom of Religion and of Belief. Since 1999, the UDM advocated for the changing of the rules of the party political funding. The ANC and Democratic Movement dug in their heels and refused to budge for many years, many years. We are now vindicated as parties are forced to declare their donations. We now also know why they were so reluctant to share that information, and one wonders what that picture would have shown over the years. Ndithi ngo-1999 sathi makwenza umthetho othi iparty zideclare imali ziyithathaphi, ingabi kanti sifandwa ngumuntu oyi-one one-agenda yakhe okanye i-country ethile. Kodwa ke ngoku lo elo dabi lideske laphumelela. Ngoku ni aware uba u-ANC yena ube survivor ngemali ze-state through obosasa ntontoni zonke ezo zinto ezo. I-DA yona incedwa ngongqowankulu abamhlophe oyibonayo nje bakupromotwa i-class ethile apha ne-race qha. So be proud ukuthi sigqibe 24 years singazange sibe sijikeleza siboqoza iminqwazi kwezi departments sisibe imali kanti ziqhwabele mani sebenzile. Ayetheme yami yaphela. Ukwangwa kalo usendiqhelela uchawe uye andinike i-3 minutes by parliament. When the president asked me to serve on the Presidential Climate Change Coordinating Commission, which advises on South Africa's climate change response, I said yes. The UDM's exposure of alleged corruption in the Public Investment Corporation, the DBSA, the Department of Education, the Ministry of Defense is well documented. Students may find the correspondence regarding our unceasing constituency work when we advocate for communities and individuals on the UDM's website, which is www.udm.org.za. Let me now come closer to local government. Elections as these local government elections are already demonstrating voters' appetite for issue-driven manifestos. This trend will continue in the 2024 general elections. South Africans are no longer interested in catchy slogans and hollow promises. You know what the problems are, and you want solutions. A case in point is the commissions made at the is the confessions made at the Zondo Commission. As we heard, for many years, massive amounts of money were siphoned from the government and state-owned enterprises into the ruling elite's pockets and Tulutuli House. We even heard how Bosasa cash paid for events and rallies such as Seingoba, national conferences, as well as use of their head offices by ANC for elections. These millions and billions of rands, Mamelega, should have created jobs, maintained infrastructure, and kept SOEs functioning properly. Yet it all went to shambles, while some people and their party were gorging at the trough. Now voters want to know how and when the stolen money will be returned and when the corrupt will be brought to justice. The UDM is of the view that as soon as possible after these municipal elections, like-minded South Africans of all persuasions should converge under one roof to discuss the country's future. Waiting for the ruling party, which thoroughly ruined this country, to have its much vaunted self-correcting nature to kick in and fix this country is an exercise in futility. At such a gathering, a quick and simple blueprint should be crafted that will address the burning issues that are affecting South Africa's economic performance and image. It is our local government system that we must now look at it thoroughly. Ladies and gentlemen, the previous South African local government system saw councillors essentially work for free. It was therefore an improvement when in the new South Africa, we ushered in a system that compensated those leaders in government who worked closest to our people. Yet 27 years later, we should be honest with ourselves and admit that our local government system is not working in all respects. The UDM is of the view that the entire local government system must be reviewed, in main because it fosters entrepreneur and abuse of the Municipal Financial Management Act. Year upon year, municipalities receive qualified audits from the Auditor General as fruitless and wasteful expenditure keep growing. UDM municipalities will tighten the screws when financial management is concerned, where financial management is concerned, in cooperation with the provincial and national governments. Where we govern, the UDM will simply implement the Auditor General's instructions and recommendations of the last financial year's audit report. We will also work closely with law enforcement to implement the Auditor General's findings where prosecution is necessary. Now let us look at the budgeting system of this country. We must also review the budgeting system, as the 3-year allocation cycle does not work. Districts blow their budgets within the first year, mainly due to corruption and poor planning. Projects, particularly those in roads and water, come to a grinding halt in the second year as funds dry up. Projects remain unfinished until someone wakes up 5 years later. This is exactly what happened with the 2019 OR Tambo Water and up to Coffee Bay dry until today. Masibulele members ze-UDM ocebo councillor abaseva kwi-OR Tambo because bathe bawufika bathi sifuna uqonda ba iphi imali ebibekelwe ufakala lamanzi yakwezilalo libode mthatha kuyomango Coffee Bay bonwa inhloko kanti bayityile. Yiyo lento i-OR Tambo igqibele seyinomeya ababini no speaker ababini besuka from the ruling party i-ANC. Ngoku enye icala licela i-UDM malincedise councilini zathi members ze-UDM no asingeni asinithembanga nonke ngathi nitye nonke nixhaphile. To members of the OR Tambo District Municipality, in yet another compromising story, this council had the dubious honor of simultaneously having 2 speakers and 2 mayors as the ruling parties infighting interfered in their work. I am proud to say that the UDM councillors did not side with either faction, which brings me to my next point. UDM municipalities and councillors will not fall into the trap of politicizing service delivery and the integrated development planning program. We will work together with all communities, irrespective of political affiliation, be accountable and will give feedback as Ngoli up. Further, to our goal of putting people first, the UDM will strive to work with other political parties that might govern at provincial and national levels to depoliticize and achieve service delivery. Furthermore, the UDM municipalities councillors will keep their noses clean and they will stick to their role of oversight. Let's look now at local economies and job creation. UDM has long argued that rural revitalization and stimulating smaller local economies are key elements of addressing some of the weaknesses in our economy. Creating jobs closer to where our people live will curb the massive influx to the cities where job hopefuls come to have their dreams dashed. We believe, for instance, that the closure of the so-called border industries, which created jobs close to the former homelands, was a case of throwing the baby away with the bathwater. UDM municipalities will therefore advocate for tax incentives to be reinstated, for factories to be reopened closer to where rural communities live. The UDM municipalities will also conduct audits of current industrial areas and infrastructure within the borders of the municipalities where we govern. Such audits will show where the potential for development and investment needs are. UDM's furthermore is furthermore all about transparency and consultation. We will enter into discussions with communities, interested groups, business organizations, and business owners. This will in part act as an indicator for the direction in which industrial and commercial development should take place. Regarding the employees of the expanded public works program, the UDM will employ those who qualify without considering political affiliation. We will pay them a decent living wage because we know they have responsibilities like everyone else. The UDM will ensure that ward councillors play only an oversight role and do not manipulate this process. The UDM's passionate and about establishing job-creating programs that will deal with environmental issues such as soil erosion, eradicating invader plants, fencing of grazing and arable land, and distilling river bends and dams to hold water, more water for the dry season. Le ndizayithetha i-close kakhulu kubantu abahlala ezilalini. Sinemilambo apha ehambisa amanzi. Le nto siyibonayo ngoku, le nto kuthiwa i-climate change ikhona. Le milambo obuyayiqaphela ngoku oMbhashe noNtontoni, uvela isanti ngoku amanzi akasakwazi uhamba. So kwabatata aba between 35 years uyoma ko 55, kulapho bebefama ke ngoku banikwe umsebenzi, baqeshwe ukuthi make sure basibuyisela isimo sale milambo namadami kwinto esasiyo. Lack of maintenance yiyo libangela uba amanzi ngoku ashote kwendawo ezininzi. eGcuwa for instance niphelelwe ngamanzi because eButterworth idami lazange lombiwe kwakhona. So we have to think ahead. Le milambo igcwele isanti ngoku yayikade ibaleka amanzi, so kufuneke ngoku kwakhiwe i-reinforcements kwaba mama nabatshakazana bangenamisebenzi. Phaya ngaphambili ngondandisaphethe ndizibeke ngenkani ke phofu ngoko. Sasiye sithi niyabona le lali ine soil erosion, khukhuliseko mhlaba. So nina sicela nityale ingca, nifake amatye. Yayijob leyo. Yayikho le nto yenu yalocambalala wenu loninikwa o300. Enye into kwi-climate change, yazini le nto uba njengoba nidla ngobona kukhona isnow kumazwe ngasentla, siyayibona loo nto ngoku isnow siyangena apha eMzantsi Afrika. Ithethe ukuthi ke ngoku we should be thinking ukuthi masakheni le nto ndingathi zi-community foresting, zizawuphinde kutyale kwa abatata umsebenzi. Community foresting izawuninceda xa kubandayo because electricity ayizuye iwomisha indlu yakho. So vulana amehlo, Hambe benivota nivotela nje abaviva ningabaziyo. Masingene ke ngoku issue of revenue generation. The phenomenon of illegal occupation of buildings owned by local government must stop. This is a symptom of municipalities that do not care, have lax administration, and have no inspection and law enforcement capacity. UDM municipalities will conduct physical inspections, audits, and inventories of movable and immovable property to have a clear picture of the state of the municipality properties, their state and their values. In instances where businesses are illegal run from such premises, the UDM will address the matter in accordance with the relevant legislation. We will also liaise with the South African Receiver of Revenue, or rather South African Revenue Services, to ensure that those businesses are up to date with their taxes. There are far too many examples of people living in industrial zones and industries and businesses operating from housing zones. Xa ungena apha eMthatha, you see, KD Matanzima, singambiza ngaba simbize ngamagama. But ndiyaqinisekisa uba ngoku benokathi ime phaa ngaseStandard Bank, ito engalapha izothi uvelaphi, ubukade uphi, sihlele ebuxhwayibeni apha inkukume ezange sibone ukungcola kunje. Now, ii-councillors zekamasipala we-UDM nobuphi masi-avoideni into yoba abantu bafake i-warehouses kwi-main street. Yile nto ibangela kubekho i-congestion, kutshayisana iimoto. Farmers zibe nendawo yawo, zibe nezone yayo, uba ngabe ufuna uyothenga izitena zesamenti, amaplanga, yonke loo nto leyo. Le uvele kumeze yonke ezikuthule ezidolophu ezincinci. Kumiwe kuthiwa kwenzani, hayi kuvalela truck ibisuka ngapha eDurban izise amaplanga kasibani bani. Ababhatali nerhafu nabasibani bani. Sizawuya kanjani emanzini, water access? Ward councillors who are closest to the people bear the brunt of complaints as water is cut off without notice, no explanation, and no indication of when it will be turned on. Worse still is that people in many places are without water for days, sometimes weeks, and they buy bottled drinking water to cook, bath, and do their washing. Councillors at district level, where this competence resides, coast along as if nothing is wrong, whilst the people are deprived of their constitutional right. The UDM municipalities and councillors will advocate for water to be made a competence at local municipality level, or that service level agreements are signed with district municipalities. Either model will enable local communities or local municipalities to take responsibility for water supply and benefit from the internal or earning potential. Apa siyarod. O councillor abaseva kumasipala i-ward councillor azina access pha ku-OR town okanye kwi-district municipality. Le mali le-revenue bayi-generator for i-district municipality ayaziwa uba yenzani. Now sithi ke ngoku lamanzi ayithathwe komasipala makaphinde iyophathwa ngomasipala because bazakwazi ke ngoku bazawukwazi ukulungisa idolophi zabo because ezitown zadeprive irevenue kanti onkabi benzeka into ba le mali bamane beyithatha pha ngezi quick tenders channel to go to the house amasela masluke makesijonge umbane electricity. Small municipalities do not have licenses to generate power and they depend on the ESCOM monopoly for their electricity. They then miss out on revenue opportunities and communities suffer because they must wait for ESCOM to wake up and smell the roses. UDM municipalities will therefore approach the Department of Energy and ESCOM to provide small local municipalities with the necessary licensing to allow for local energy sourcing and generation to fast-track electricity provision, housing and land tenure. UDM municipalities will initiate housing projects with the national and provincial governments by identifying land for housing development. Funeka nibe clear ngalento ningatshiselwa imizini yenu ningoceba. Irresponsibility yokwakha izindlu ibudget apha ikhoyo iku-national no local no provincial. Nina irresponsibility yenu boceba ningahambe nixoka apha nithi ayibuvotela i-UDM yawutyibilika ebhotolweni yomange sonka. Cacisela abantu kwangoku ba ndim umuntu ozawuthi make sure ba ezi zicelo zezindlu umasipala wethu ziyangena ecounseling abhalelwe uminister okwa-national department ibhalelwe kwe-province sibaxelele futhi basesiwu-identifyele umhlaba owakhela abantu izindlu sona zithwalisa ityala umthwalo ongengoweni. The UDM municipalities will initiate housing projects with the national as well as government, provincial governments. We will ensure that housing projects are of good quality and are able to stand the test of time. UDM will improve the standard of living and of informal settlements by providing essential services with a view of rather finding long-term housing solutions. In municipalities where the UDM govern, we will seek to involve all the relevant departments in finding a uniform land tenure system. Awujonge usizi labantu abasegoli nabaseKapa abamnyama. Ikhumbula early 80s. Lama tyotyombe sicampaigner pha nalapha ko-90. Sicampaignela ne-ANC. Matyotyombe aseme kwezazi ndawo ayikuzo. What I want to appeal to, asina federal system in this country. If the Western Cape government ayibalungiselela abantu bakuthi abakwezindawo abantsundu, i-ANC must not expect uba mayisebenzise abantu as voting cattle for ubeka i-president babeke ntoni njalo njalo. Phaya le budget ikhutshwa ngu-national treasury. I-government ine-responsibility to make sure uba aba bantu bayakhutshwa kule mikhukhu bade bakhelwe izindlu ezidecent. Hayi le ndaba besiyibona nalapha eTV ufumanisa uba yo isurage inqumle izitrato uba west ke ngoku xa ungekho laa ndawo engekho stratweni abanye babeke imikhukhu yabo esentini xa kufike imvula phaa koKapa niyazibonela ii-floods. So sifuna ke ngoku singu-UDM mntakakhwankwa thina at national level we must bring this to the attention of the president But this is not a federal state. He has powers to intervene on behalf of the people of Western Cape. Bahleli eBhayibheli. Finish. Make sizeke ngoku apha kwi-waste management. Ubuxeleki obuni ingcolisayo ilizwe lonke. Nam guilty apho nani sonke. South Africa is the dirtiest it has ever been in its history, with littering and garbage dumping at an all-time high. Our people and government could not care less. Not only is this a massive health hazard that attracts vermin, it affects stormwater system that causes flooding, and our environment and tourism also suffer. We need to clean our country if we have any hope of maintaining our natural heritage, preserving our environment, and restoring our tourism industry. UDM municipalities will keep their towns and cities clean by enforcing bylaws and ensuring that the waste management divisions properly do their work. The UDM will enter into negotiations with local bus companies and taxi associations to have trash cans in their vehicles, and to make a forced stop should a passenger throw garbage out of a window to make them pick it up. Indeed. Banbaguti, we have to build or inculcate a culture of ownership. A culture yobuzwe. Umzi wami lo zawuklina phambi koba ndigodi ngiyophangela. Sistrato sethu esi ngeke ndiphuphe ndingcolise. Idolophi yami le andinawujula edolophini enkukulu. Mandiyifake emgqobeni oright. Sithi ke sizawungena sixoxe notato notaxi nabantu bebhasi. Uba uyajonga uthi apha kwi-intersection uba kuke kwamiwa nakwezi humps ufumanisa uba mani kujulwa kwanto nento zimdaka neepampas konke uthi ayibo kusese-South Africa apha. So noko nto zakuthi xa singene ke kwi-agreement nonotaxi nabantu bebhasi sizawuthi bantu bakuthi itaxi yakho apha ngawuzama kube khona icontainer apha eteksini uba abantu bayatya bakwazi ugalela apha. Uzuthi xa ufika erenkini ke nguyofaka kulaa mgqomo omkhulu. Umntu onenkani ojula ngefestile yakho ajule imathamba akho eKentucky neplastiki, mise lo taxi uthi makehlike awuyichola makafake ebhegini yakhe. Sithi make singena apha kucele ke ngokwelicala lecrime. The UDM recognizes that communities play a major role in addressing the root causes of crime and violence. They can act as the eyes and ears of our law enforcement agencies. In UDM municipalities, we shall agitate for local safety and security agencies to be properly capacitated and coordinated and be brought closer to the people. UDM will endeavor to cultivate healthy relationships between the police, community police forum, and communities to prevent vigilantism. Furthermore, we will actively encourage communities to participate in the eradication of crime through the establishment of properly resourced neighborhood watches. Civil disobedience, abake ngokuba zithathela umthetho bengafuna ulawuleka. Civil disobedience, as fostered by the ruling party's unwillingness to listen to our people or to tend to their needs, has become the norm. The most effective way to acquire government's attention these days is to pillage, break. This is a crucial lesson, this is a cruel lesson to have taught our people. UDM municipalities and councillors will, as its primary step, not ignore its citizens, especially in times of crime, of crisis. Gender-based violence. Certain legislative changes have been made, but if crime is rife and on the increase, how will we stem the tide of gender-based violence, or GBV, and femicide? The adage that it takes a village to raise a child is true. UDM municipalities will therefore allocate more resources to teach communities about how to steer clear of GBV and femicide as part of the collective effort to teach our people right from wrong. We shall also pressurize the police to place greater emphasis on combating GBV and femicide. Dimkeke ngondiye politics. Coalitions. Nanku Mayor Phala chap yase Nelson Mandela wasishiya nelifa pha ubobani uphi imaba bakubona emhlabeni oh yeah okay uye lo i-coalitions uxa urhulumente bekuvota engakwazi ukulawula yedwa ziyanceda because it bring in i-checks and balances bagadane. But ingxaki esibenayo kwi-coalitions eSouth Africa azikaregulathwa kakuhle, kufuneka kwenziwe i-regulations, not act, just i-regulations. Nokuthi kusetyenzwa njani nee-parties xa nikhona pha, angathi lo namanani amakhulu acinga uba kumncedile nguye ophetheyo. Iphethe liyakuthi bayi-2 qha pha kulaa council, but uphethe umasipala wonke. And well done, Mfana, because you have stabilized the whole thing, and I see ne branding up and ngaphandle zemoto zakhe ngathi usifala loba ngumeya pa. Ayakuncedisa ndizawufika bantu campaign. Coalitions are here to stay, as the South African electorate is tired of one-party dominance. It did not work under the National Party and not under the ANC either. Sizawutshintsha izinto. However, coalition government is a relatively new phenomenon that will still have teething problems and is not uniformly practiced. UDM is of the view that guidelines on how coalition governments are managed, the practicalities must be outlined and gazetted. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the UDM's motto for this year's election is putting people first. I'm sure nivile nangokuba intetha yami igxinise ekuncedeni abantu. Ne background yami ebesiyenza bendiyenzile ba UDM leadership yenza ntoni xa ingapolitiki kuncedwa abantu. Ayo leadership ebimali le. Asinalo nengxaki le. Nozondo commission uyayazi elele pha kwakhe ba akaphuphi nophuphi bangaza summon ukhwankwa akanye summon uHolomisa yovela apha ndiyokwenzani. This has always been a fundamental stance of the UDM, and it is our succinct way of saying you are our priority. Put people first. UDM and our candidates are are special purpose vehicles who will strive to free our people from the chains of poverty, inequality, unemployment, corruption, crime, and gender-based violence. Lastly, you will find the UDM's 2021 Manifesto on our website at www.udm.org.za. Now, anit ke ndibuyele kuni ke kula mcimbi bendike ndawuphakamisa wendoba ugqitha kwezi elections zonke i-political parties nabantu amakhosi and everybody kuyafuneka ke sihlangane necaleni sigwadle ke sinokole sithethe ngoba size njani apha kule ndawo sikuyo ngoku. Nansi party silwa yodwa yawugqiba ukulwa yodwa yahlaza iSouth Africa yachitha ngoku sawuchitha 32 billion rands silungisa ihlazo le ruling party bisilwa yodwa. Now sawunyamezela obo bubhadla kude kube nini. So mayisondele ke ezinye parties ngesiphunga ikofu namakhosi abecawe sithi ingaba iseyilanto na sasishelwe ngumadiba le, ingaba lela lifa lalishwe ngo-OR Tambo, ingaba lela lifana lalishwe ngamanye amaqhawe afana noTatubiko. Ke sicinge kakuhle, less politics, but nazi findings zikaZondo Commission zizawuphuma zizawu-implementwa ngubani. Ngeke si-expect ba i-ANC yawu self-correct itself sithi thina sawube sihlangene emva kwezi election sidrawishwe i-way forward up until 2024 elections. Mawubuye uMzantsi Afrika wethu esiwuthandayo emaseleni, mawubuye. Mawubuye uMzantsi Afrika wethu esiwuthandayo emaseleni, mawubuye. Phansi ngamasela, phansi. Mbano vote.
Sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no. Sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, hey you kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no. Ayu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no tando, sikelu kolo no, magube kolo no tando.